Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, the #1 podcast and resource for Black entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and Black Entrepreneur Blueprint was created specifically to educate and inspire Black entrepreneurs to launch, build, and grow successful, sustainable businesses. Join us as we help build an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. If you're currently an entrepreneur or want to be an entrepreneur, you're invited to join us each and every week here at Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Welcome to the BEB family and get ready to elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Welcome to Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, episode number 456. I'm your host, Jay Jones, and today we have another outstanding and informative show in store for you. Today we're going to be speaking with Mr. Maurice Taylor, the founder of MONETIZE Basketball, and we're going to talk about his amazing entrepreneurial journey, how he transformed his passion into profit. Now, before we get to today's episode, I just want to share a few things with the Black Entrepreneur Blueprint family. First and foremost, I want to welcome all first-time listeners. Welcome to the BEB family. Please stick around until the end of today's broadcast, and I'm going to share all my social media contact information and resource links, such as the link to my latest book, A New Black Wall Street, Circulating the Black Dollar Worldwide by Building Successful E-Commerce Businesses. Also, don't forget to get 3 days free access to BEBacademy.com. Make sure you go to BEBacademy.com, which is our online learning portal. We have all types of online courses, masterclasses, and resources to help elevate your entrepreneur IQ. Get 3 days free access. Go to BEBacademy.com. Also, don't forget, guys, if you're interested in learning about ChatGPT and artificial intelligence, make sure you sign up for the newsletter, AI360news.com. That's AI, the number 360, news.com, AI360news.com. You need to be in front of this artificial intelligence, guys, so you don't get left behind. Now, let's get ready for today's episode. We are live with Maurice Taylor, a.k.a. Coach Mo. Mo, how are you today, brother? Pleasure to have you on Black Entrepreneur Blueprint.
Man, I'm blessed, brother, and man, long time supporter and fan of Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, and it's great to sit down and talk with you. It always is.
Appreciate that, man. For people who don't know who you are, man, give us a brief introduction, a little bit about you personally, and then we're going to jump into your entrepreneurial journey.
You got it. Coach Mo, so I'm born and raised in Detroit. I moved here to Chandler, Arizona in 2007. Back in Detroit, played high school ball, played a little JUCO ball, and then just got into the workforce. Moved out here in 2007. I was with Singular Wireless. I was a store manager at Singular Wireless, and they were shut down like 30% of its operations in Michigan. So I was given the choice to either go to Charlotte, North Carolina, or come out here to Mesa, Arizona for this. AT&T was starting they would do cable television. It was called Uverse. They were starting a new program with that, and I was going to be in tech support with that. I went to Charlotte. Man, I love Charlotte. But then my regional manager drove me by the hardware store where they buy supplies for the hurricanes. And I said, I'm not coming here, bro. So I moved out. I came out here sight unseen. And I was coaching in Detroit for about 10 years, high school and AAU ball. And when I moved out here, I was so burnt out with coaching that I was just coming out here to kind of just chill and, enjoy the weather and get out in the snow. I wasn't thinking nothing about coaching. And then got married, had a daughter, and we got her into soccer. And this is crazy, Jay. So we signed up for 3-year-old soccer. And back in Detroit, I worked at recreation centers. And we had leagues. The employees of the rec centers were the coaches. Out here was the first time I ever heard of parent volunteer coach. And so we signed my daughter up for soccer. We go to the registration thing, and then it's like, okay, look on this wall, find your child's name. There's a table, corresponding table. Sit at that table, and that's your team. So we do that. We sit at the table with all of the parents and all of the kids. The lady gets on the mic and says, okay, between the parents, decide who's going to be the coach. I'm like, I'm looking at my wife like, you ain't say this was. So long story short, one guy who had played college soccer, knew soccer really well, said he would be the coach. And I said, cool. I said, listen, I know how to coach children. I'm a good coach. I don't know anything about soccer. I said, I'll be your assistant coach. So this was 1 month before the season started. The day before our first practice, dude was like, I can't do it. I don't have the time. And I'm like, wow. So so I'm in there with soccer, never coached soccer, never coached 3-year-olds in my life.
Right.
And so, so it was crazy, man, how God puts you in certain situations. So coaches of soccer, that was the first time, Jay, I ever coached, and I didn't care about the results.
Gotcha. Right.
You know
3 years old. Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You know, they just running around, man. My little daughter looking cute. Like, they were so adorable. I couldn't even, Jay, we scored more goals in our net for the other team than the other team scored in our net. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But it was so calm and it was so fun. Like the practices, like I said, it was the first time I ever coached and I didn't care about the result. Before I was like so driven about win. And then long story short from there was the league I was coaching the soccer in needed a basketball referee. They had basketball too. The league is other sports. So they was like, hey, Coach Mo, you know, you don't have a game. Could you referee blah, 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 blah. So I started refereeing basketball. And then when I started refereeing basketball, my juices for basketball started coming back.
Right.
And so when I refereed, I was refereeing 3rd and 4th graders and 5th and 6th graders. And so when I ref, like I was teaching the kids like, okay, well, I call this, they're following you on that screen because you lean forward. Or I call that carry because your hand was under the ball. You know, just giving them different instructions. A parent comes to me after the game one time and says, you know, I really like how you talk to my son and you tell him what he needs to do. Can we meet you at the park one day? You just show him some drills. I said, no problem.
Wow.
So meet him at the park. It's him and his friend. So I'm just going over some basic drills, layups, passing, just super basic. She gives me $100.
Wow.
I'm like, so Jay, my rule of thumb is, Jay, I'm gonna turn it down the first time. You offer it again, now I'm keeping it. You know what I'm saying? So like, you know what I'm saying? So she offered me the $100. I'm like, no, I said, listen, I didn't come out here to make no money. I just came because I like your son and I wanted to help. And she's like, no, please take it. Thank you, I'll take it. But then the light bulb went off. Like, wow, they'll actually pay for this. So then that parlayed into her son needed a 7th grade coach for his junior high school. So I got that job. So this was like May of 2018. So I worked him out all that summer. I had one training client. That whole summer I worked him out. That fall, his junior high team, his 7th grade team needed a coach.
Wow.
So I coached them that fall. Then that entire team wanted an AAU club basketball team, so I coached them with club. So from one training client, it just mushroomed into And so about a year into it, I was still working. So I was still working, 40, 50 hours a week, and I was still trying to manage the basketball too. Then it got to the point to where I was like, wow, I could really do this. If I did this full time, I could really make some solid money doing this and I could grow it. You know what I mean? So I didn't have to quit my job and then just moving forward with basketball.
Man, that's amazing. It's funny how things work. And like you said, how God puts you in those positions to be able to do that. And then your creative juices or your juices for basketball got reignited just, by happenstance. And now look where you've transitioned from there back to this. So I want the light bulb to go off for the BEB family, because sometimes we have to listen to what the universe puts in front of us. And you may be in a situation where, you threw in the towel, I'm moving forward. But sometimes, if it's innate in you, it's going to eventually come back up. When, how, why, we don't know, but always listen to that. I wanted to ask you, Mo, real quick, man. Was that the specific thing that made you say, or what was the specific thing that said, you know what, I'm going all in and I'm quitting my job? Was it one particular incident,
You
or
know
was it
what?
just a series of things?
It was a series of things, but I really saw the growth. I got I'm blessed to have I get there's three people that I know that I consider that I'm really close to,
Right.
that I'm really close to, that I consider overachievers and really successful. You know what I'm saying? That overachieve their situation, really successful. My son, my best friend Dion Ingram, and my former barber who now does he's a great barber. He parlayed being a barber into he's a great cook, and now he does food trucks.
Oh wow!
And does catering. Oh man, so those three guys that I would consider like overachievers and really successful. So I was always bouncing ideas off of them of like, the growth of this and numbers and what I could do. And so as the business was growing, let's back up. Let's back up. As the business was growing is when I was listening to you. Gotcha. And then we had what's it called, brainstorming, but we had different ideas we would come and talk about.
The mastermind group.
The mastermind group.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
The mastermind group. The mastermind group really helped me kind of funnel down and really focus on specific points where I could grow the business. You know what I mean? And so that plus my core group of guys that I bounced stuff off of, they really kind of like laid out a pathway to say, okay, if you do this, then do this, then do this, then it's worth trying to pursue it. Because it was hard, because I was working like 50, 55 hours a week.
Wow.
And then I was still trying to, do the basketball thing. And so talking to them. So it wasn't like one specific thing. As the growth was coming, it was like I could see, like I grew it as far as I could while still working every day.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying? And so it was like, because one thing that I think social media is a great thing. It's a great tool. It's a great tool. And the thing about social media is that from an entrepreneur standpoint, you can't look at it like, I'm going to do this one post, it's going to catch fire, and a million people are going to know about me. That's not my experience of social media and people that I know that are successful, that I personally know that are successful with social media. It was, I just kept chugging away, promoting ads. And every time I promoted an ad, I gained business.
Right.
I gained a new client. And so as I was promoting on social media, it was like, the thing was my reach got beyond the people that I knew. So it was people that I didn't know that was finding me from social media or word of mouth that was signing up, either play on one of my teams or, be one of my training clients. So it was just, I just saw the pathway that I could grow this so much more if I just focused on it full time.
Now you had mentioned something about leaving your job and going full speed ahead. Now I know that's a big barrier for a lot of people. So take me into this conversation. I think this is super important. I've talked about this on the show before. So you're married.
Yes.
And you tell your wife, hey, this is what I want to do. What type of response did she have? And did you plan prior to jumping out? So tell us about how that situation, that transition took place.
So I'm blessed to where I got a real partner, you know what I'm saying, in life.
Right.
And so she supports me, she checks me, you know what I mean? And so she keeps me grounded, and I know I get the truth from her. And I know I got her support unconditional. And so, and that's hard to find, that's really hard to find. And so as she was seeing the growth in this, I was telling her, man, if this keeps growing, like I want to do this full time. And she was coming like, man, you crazy. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we need this, we need the insurance and
in this paper, right?
Exactly. So I was like, well, let me just keep growing it. As she kept seeing the growth of it, like she saw it from basically an embryo, and it just kept growing. It kept growing. So I want to say probably about 3 months before I finally quit, she saw like this thing is rolling. Like she was like really impressed, and she was like, wow. And I kept telling her, I kept saying, baby, if I do this full time, I can do more than this.
Right.
I'm inhibited by being at this job 50 hours a week. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so then I started getting a little drama at work. I was blessed to have a great manager, a guy from India, Dominic Lee. He was Indian, but he was from a wealthy family. He was educated in China. He was worldly. He still has an accent, but not super thick. But he was really smart. But what I give him credit for, he understood people. A lot of times Indians come over here and their management, they're really intelligent, but they don't understand the American workforce. Like you can't treat Americans the same way y'all treat Indians over in India. You can't. Like we got unions. Like you just can't do that. You know what I mean? A lot of them struggle with that, and he didn't. So I had a great manager, man, that really wanted to see me be successful, that wanted to see me do well. He was really good. The problem was prior to I want to say the last 6 months of the job, I went to my manager and I said, Dominic, listen. Now he knew I was doing basketball on the side. Like he knew I was doing basketball. We talked about it. So he knew I was doing basketball, but I told him from the very beginning, I'm like, listen, this is a hobby. It's not going to impact my work. I'm going to give you everything I can here. But on the weekends, I'm doing basketball. No problem. We talked about it. He supported it. But then he got to the point where I said, I had a meeting with him about 6 months before I quit. And I said, look, Dominic, this is really going faster than I thought. I said, I can no longer do overtime. Because prior to that, I was doing like 50, 55 hours. And I said, I'm going to give you 40 hours a week. I'm going to be here on time every day, giving you 100%. My work ethic's not going to change. I just can't keep it the time anymore. And I live the closest to the job. I live like eight miles one way. So if something happened on the job, like a server went down or something happened, he texts me or he calls me, Mo, can you check this out for me? Blah, blah, blah. I take care of it. Sometimes it'll take me like a half hour to fix it. He say, put down 4 hours overtime. He was super cool. Yeah, he was super cool. But then when I told him that, me and his relationship started changing. And then me and my coworkers started changing because we used to go to happy hours all the time and hang out. And it was a family atmosphere. It was definitely a family atmosphere. And they said I was changing. And it wasn't that I was changing. I just wasn't giving the job my free time anymore.
Right.
So the dynamic at the job changed, and it just fueled me to go harder with basketball. You know, and then it just got to the point where I don't want to say it got cantankerous, but it got like where I didn't feel like I was part of the team, and more importantly, I didn't feel like I wanted to be part of the team.
Right.
So I just told Dominic, I said, man, I think we done took this as far as I can. I said, I'm gonna go ahead and give you my 2 weeks. I'm just gonna move forward. Right. And he was like, well, that's not necessary. You know, you want to try part-time? I said, okay, let's do part-time. He kind of talked me into doing part-time. And then it was like, I'm doing part-time work. And then my work was slipping because I just wasn't focused on work anymore.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's like I was so into basketball to where my work was suffering. And then I went back to him again about 3 months later after that and just said, Dominic, man, like you see my work. My heart's not in it no more. Right. You know, I said, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to stay part-time. And I that he was giving it to me part-time for a reason, in my opinion. I think he wanted to see if I wasn't going to fail at basketball, and then I come running back to the job.
Right.
That's kind of how I saw it. I was happy that he gave me the opportunity to do it, but I was checked out. Like mentally and emotionally, I was just hardcore for my business.
Right.
And so when I went back to my wife after we did the part-time thing, she was just like, you know, follow your heart. I see where this can go. Like I see how hard working you got this. I see you're passionate about this. Just keep going with it because I think you can. I think you can make some money from this. Like it doesn't seem like it's not. Oh yeah, Jay. So my wife supported me making the leap. She has seen in a short time how I grown a business.
Right.
And she saw my passion about it. And so I think her seeing the growth and me doing it for a while, and she saw how hard I worked at it and how good I was at it, that kind of eased her fears. It still was, you know, a big leap to be like, you know, I don't have this check every 2 weeks. That still was a big leap, but she really supported it. And so that gave me the once I got the go ahead from her, then I felt like I could do it. You know what I mean? Like I felt like it was gonna work. It was gonna work. So, and that was a big step, man. That was a big step. So I would for for other entrepreneurs, it's you definitely have to have your life partner on board. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Fully supporting it on board. And I think that having her supporting me throughout, you know what I mean, and her seeing the growth, like I'm, she saw, like I said, from a very small stage,
right?
And she saw that I grew it, and it wasn't like an overnight thing. I just could come home one day and say, "Hey, baby, I'm quitting my job. I'm gonna start basketball." Like,
right?
You know what I'm saying? Like what's it? I can't get mad at no woman coming like, "Are you nuts?" Like, it wasn't that. You know what I'm saying? Like, she saw the work that I put into it, and she saw how the foundation I laid and how I grew upon that foundation. So she supported it.
Yeah, and I want all the entrepreneurs that are listening to this, their spouses or partners, whoever, you might need to send this interview to them, because one of the biggest things that I see, man, is that your wife saw the work. You put the work in, the effort in, the commitment. A lot of times when we have these conversations as entrepreneurs, we're talking conceptual. Yeah, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to do this, this, and this. That sounds good, but if you don't have the commitment and the work to support that, then it's not going to happen. And I think a lot of times, with your wife, husband, spouse, partner, they want to see that you're serious about it. Because I know as an entrepreneur, sometimes I got entrepreneur ADD. I got all kind of ideas going around, in my head. Oh, man, I got to try. I'm going to try this. I'm going to try that. And I had to learn how to rein myself in. And I think once that effort is behind it and your partner and spouse can see that, that makes a big difference. So before, like Mo's story, he didn't just quit. He went, started it part-time. Then he went on his job, bring that down to part-time. Then finally he said, you know what? It's time for me to focus. You knew it was time when it was time,
Correct.
And so that's something I want that light bulb to go off, guys. So if you're ever thinking about going full-time, taking your part-time side business to a full-time, make sure you do it the right way and put the effort in so that your spouse or partner can get on board with you. Now, I always say this, when my wife and I got married, one of the biggest things her pastor, when we were doing our pre-marital counseling, said, expectations will make or break any relationship. And so if your spouse or partner expects certain things from you, hard work, commitment as you're doing your new business, and you in there playing PlayStation all night.
Come on, man.
Yeah, that ain't gonna work. Right.
Come on, man.
So I like that. That's a nugget right there, family. Make sure y'all put the commitment in to be successful. I wanted to ask you, Mo, youth basketball. How big an industry is that, man?
Whoo, brother. It's
you don't have to give me the numbers, but
it's huge, man. And it's so different in Detroit. So in Detroit, everything I'm doing now, I did in Detroit. The only difference was in Detroit, like probably 80 to 85% of my kids were inner city, single parent family. They didn't have no money.
Right.
So I couldn't even think about making money off of this. You know what I mean? So it was, but I coached my son. My son was in the 4th grade, and I coached him and his 6 friends from the 4th grade all the way through high school. And so coaching them, and it started with them 6, and then it just grew and grew and grew. And it was, my whole goal was, we had to fundraise for everything.
Right.
So, I mean, you say it, we done it. Snow removal, cut grass, car wash, fish fries, chicken fries, you name it, magazine subscriptions, like because I would lay everything out for the parents and say, hey, listen, I'm not asking you to come out your pocket, but you got to raise at least this amount of money.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to give you the tools. Yeah, you got to do something. It can't just be, you just going to send your kid to Chicago for the weekend with $10.
Right.
You know what I mean? Right. And so, so we was fundraising for everything. And my goal at the end of the year was, if I break even or if I spend $2,000-$3,000 out of my own pocket, it's cool.
It's good.
I'm with my son. You know what I mean? Like, I invested into my son, and it paid off, overwhelmingly. And so out here, the difference is I'm in a suburb of Phoenix. It's way more disposable income. You know what I mean? So in the area that I'm at compared to Detroit, Detroit, where I was at in Detroit, the client base of the players that I had, the average the household income, just throw your number out, say it's $30,000 a year.
Gotcha.
In Detroit. Out here where I'm at, it's probably like 150. You know what I mean? So they got way more disposable income. Yes, way more. And again, that's so I was doing this in Detroit from 96 to 2006. So there's a little bit of a, inflation to add to it, but it's a lot more disposable income. And because of golf, soccer, and baseball, training has already been established.
Gotcha.
So out here, the thought process is, if I want my son to excel at high school sports, I got to get him professional training.
Right.
That's the thought process out here.
Wow.
Detroit, nobody thinks that. You know what I'm saying? Like it may have changed now since I've been gone, but when I was coaching, it was more like if you were an elite player, you wouldn't saw a trainer.
Gotcha.
Not the average everyday Joe. Now out here, like there's kids that's barely starting in the 4th grade, and they're coming to me like, well, my son's like basketball, and I know I want him to play at Mesa High or play at a really good high school. He got to get training. He's in the 4th grade.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying?
Big,
so out here, the biggest difference is two things: is there's way more disposable income, and there's a mindset of, if my child is going to excel at sports, they have to get professional training. So that's the mindset they have. So they're looking to spend money.
One of the things, having talked to you off the air, and you being in one of the mastermind groups a couple of years ago, and we've always stayed in contact. One of the things is that what I always loved about your program and what you talked about, and this goes to marketing, is the relationship that you build with the children, the kids that you coach, and also the parents, because parents can see that hey, Coach Mo he's not here coaching. He has a real interest in my kid. Talk about how truly putting your heart into your business, how has that affected your business, and how has it help it grow?
Wow. So that's a good question. So it's let me go to the genesis of it. So back in Detroit, when I did this, I sent through my program, through the years that I did it, I sent, I think, 54 kids to college that I helped send to college.
Right.
And out of that 54, now not all 54 played basketball, but 54 went to college. 39 got their bachelor's degree. Out of that 39, I want to say 22 or 23 was the first one of their families to ever step foot onto a college. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And then out of the ones that graduated, the 39 that graduated, I want to say 17, 18 more got their graduate degrees.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And so, and again, I don't want to make this seem like I'm just sprinkling magic pixie dust and these kids turn out like this. That ain't the case. I was just part of the village.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I was always stressing, use basketball to teach life. I don't consider myself a coach. I consider myself a community activist, and I use basketball to teach life. And I tell everybody that. And hopefully, and I feel confident saying this, my actions show that. You know, how I treat children, how I invest into children outside of basketball. I take pride in, don't get me wrong, I take pride in when my guys play high school basketball and play college basketball. Without a doubt, I take pride in that. What I take more pride in is that I have relationships with guys that I haven't coached in 10, 12 years.
Right.
You know what I mean? Being invited to somebody's wedding, you know what I mean? The children's birthday party, that kind of stuff. That lets me know I impacted them beyond just basketball, And so, back in Detroit, and so most of my guys didn't have no money.
Right.
I can't tell you how many hours I spent helping kids do the financial aid form, the FAFSA. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And so, that ain't got nothing to do with basketball. You know,
Exactly.
I'm like, listen, to get you in college, before we do this, make sure your grades is tight. So I'm
Right.
telling them the importance of their grades. I'm telling them the importance of being eligible. I'm telling them how, like, I know you don't want to take these hard math classes. Like, like, there's an easy path to graduation, and then there's a college preparatory path to
Mhm.
education in high
Right.
school. And I'm like, listen, if you're going to go to college and play basketball, you got to prepare now. If you take these easy classes now, it's not going to help when you get to college. So
Right.
those kind of conversations. So they saw, my players saw how I was invested in them and how much I was around them and how much we talked, and it wasn't just solely basketball. You
Right.
know what I mean? So you, as a coach in any sport, you build relationships with the time that you spend around them when it's not required.
Right.
Like, practice is required, games is required. That's not where you build a relationship at. You build a relationship when you're around them when it's not required, when you're giving your time to be around them. And so I just, in Detroit, like, the guys are over at my house all the time. Like, they knew I was invested in them, and I wanted, if they had an issue and I could fix it, I would do everything I can to fix it. And then fast forward that to today, I just think that, so for example, if a kid's not playing a lot and they ask why they're not playing, I'll say, hey, listen, you need to do A, B, C, and D. I said,
Mhm.
more than that, I'll teach you how to do it. So I'll train you, I'll record it, I'll give it to you. You do this every day for 3 or 4 months, you're going to be a different player. So it's like, I don't
Mhm.
just tell them the solution. It's like, I really, like, put it in their hands to say, like, okay, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna show you. Now you do it. And
Right.
so I think that builds a lot of bridges with my players. I think it does, because I think that my parents, I got a pretty good group of parents, and I think they know that I, through my actions, I'm more invested in them than just basketball. It just can't be only basketball, and I always
So,
tell them that all the time.
so how do you think that has impacted your business? Obviously, in a
Um,
positive manner, right?
yeah, I think the things I'm really proud about. So I've been doing this um, May of 2018,
Mhm.
and did it full time April 2019. And
Mhm.
so right now I got I got 6 teams. I want to say 72 players on those teams, and then I have another probably 15 or 16 training clients.
Wow.
Out of those, out of my teams, what I'm proud about, though, how this goes back to what you just asked me, is that the majority, overwhelming majority, I want to say at least 80%, maybe 85% of my players on my teams are all returning players.
Wow.
So I don't
That's
have a lot
good.
of churn. You know what I mean? So, like, most of my, and churn is huge in AAU basketball. It's huge. And so I think that because I keep a high percentage of my players and my parents, I think that
Mhm.
speaks to how they feel I treat them and how I run my basketball organization.
Yeah, so I want the light bulb to go off, family. So it's not just about making money. It's about truly being passionate and pouring into your business, and people will see that. And the
Yes,
fruits of Mo's labor, man, you got a very low churn ratio. And I'm telling you, I know that AAU is no joke with that,
man.
man. People be leaving. Oh, they got a hot shot team over here. You know what? I'm putting my kid over here. So that just goes to show what you're doing and the impact that you're having, man. I forgot to ask you though, Mo. A lot of times when people make that transition from employee to entrepreneur, how did you finance that, man?
Oh, that was tough, man, because it
Mhm.
was me and my wife, man. We put our money together, and my son helped me. My best friend helped me, and so and it was loans. My son and my best friend helped me, and it was
Mhm.
loans, and it was really sit down and try to look at this, like, whiteboard it and be really schematic of, okay, this is what it costs, all right, and this I can pay you guys back over this amount of time, and because the business had grown a lot faster than I was thinking, I was able to
Mhm.
pay them back a lot faster. But
That's what's up.
that was a hard conversation to have. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because of, and it was, again, I was blessed that I had people that was already in my circle who really believed in me and I had a great relationship with. So I had to go to the outside to be able to make that happen. And it didn't. I don't want to say it costed. I mean, there was a cost to it.
Right.
But again, it for me, what eased a lot of my fears was I had people in my inner circle that could help me do it.
Good,
so that
right.
that really helped it for me. And it was, like I said, it was tough because, like, for example, the thing that really, and it's still somewhat of a problem now, but the thing that was the biggest cost is gym rentals.
Gotcha.
Out here, man. Like, so in Detroit, like, I was a varsity coach, and I had friends that were coaches. I had a keychain of like 6 different schools that I can go to anytime. I would call the guy and say, hey, my school, they got something going on. Can I come over there today or whatever? So I had a network of coaches and access to gyms that was never a problem in Detroit. Out here, nothing like that. Nothing like that here. So it's like, so even right now, I lowered the cost some, but right now, I want to say like 25% of my revenue goes to gym rental. You know what I mean? So that's costly. So when I sat down and started this, I was like, okay, I got to rent gyms for this amount of time. So that was like a big chunk of the cost, the startup cost. Getting the equipment and stuff is not cheap, but it really was a purchasing gym rental.
Okay. Now that's a good point, because I know a lot of times we got to figure out how we're going to finance what we're trying to do.
Absolutely.
I wanted to, I'm going to come back to that a little bit later, but I wanted to ask you in terms of marketing, because, so many of the competitors out there that are doing the same thing I do, that do the same thing you do. What do you feel are some of your best marketing strategies or techniques that you use to build your business?
I think what I did, one, I learned from you with promoting on Facebook ads, promoting with Instagram. So that was one thing that really impacted my business a lot. Also, there's an online company called lessons.com where you can go there to get a lesson in anything. So I signed up through them, and man, so basically how it works is I sign up through them. Somebody looks for basketball trainer. They put their criteria down of what they're looking for, how far away does he live or whatever, and then it gives you back a list of trainers, and you reach out to them for free. Now it costs a trainer some money to reach back out to you.
Gotcha.
But it's been so using lessons.com, Facebook ads, Instagram, and also what I do with my training clients is that, so like I got training clients that love my business, and I'll film the entire training session and give it to them.
Wow.
And say, so you can work on this while I'm not there. And a lot of people, I talk to other basketball trainers, like, I would never do that, man, because if they got the training session, what they need you for?
Right.
You know what I mean? And my answer to that is, one, for it to flow correctly, they need somebody to help them. And most people are too lazy to help them. Yeah. Like, if they had somebody in their life that would do that, they would have never saw me in the first place. That's typically what I think. And so, two is like that's a separator for me. The fact that I give them this for free, I didn't tell this trainer that, but like that what separates me from you.
Right.
But I give them a value. Exactly. That what separates me from you. And so I filmed the workout, the training session, and then I'll edit it out to where we don't have dead spots. But I get them the full training session. Then I'll ask the kid, what's your 3 favorite songs? And they tell me, and I'll put a highlight video from that training session to the songs they like. Then I go back to that kid and to the parent and say, hey, do me a favor. Could you just put this on your social media?
That's what's up.
So then his friends see this video. And so that really was the growth of it through social media. So Facebook ads, Instagram ads, also using lessons.com. But then really a big part was my training clients and their parents promoting my social media on their platforms. That was huge.
Man, that's sweet, man. That's nice.
That's huge.
I want that light bulb to go off to the BEB family. So even if you're not doing basketball coaching, you may be able to use this concept that Mo just talked about. That's beautiful, man. Also, I seen, tell me how your testimonials will work, because I've seen parent testimonials.
I got to get back to it too, man, because I think Me being in suburban Phoenix, man, and being African American, and we only make up like 4% of the population in the state.
Wow.
And so, don't get me wrong, my reputation is very good. I'm a coach at a high school that's a really good program, but it's like, I don't get the same benefit of the doubt as someone else would. You know what I mean? Not making no excuses. You have to know what it is. You have to make adjustments. And so when I get, and this my best friend Dion told me this, when I get suburban moms to go on camera and vouch for me, that reverberates with other suburban moms. You know what I'm saying? So like it builds a trust. It gives me a benefit of the doubt because it's like, oh, okay, if she feels comfortable with her son, working with him and all this, I can have my son do it.
Right.
So I think it's vital, man. I think it's vital to have testimonials, and like even when I'm meeting people, like people come to me at games and stuff and say, "Do I do training?" Yeah, I do training. Da da da. And I always tell them, I say, "Hey, I got references too. I got people. If you want, I can give you, a few names of people that like my service, and you can contact them and talk to them and whatever." So I think that having those testimonials and having, clients that are vouch for what you do, I think is vital. I really do. Matter of fact, I got to get more into it, but I think it's vital. I really do.
Yeah. That gives you that credibility, quote unquote,
absolutely,
that you need. Also, you coaching at a high school too, one of the top high schools programs out there in the state, that gives you credibility. So a lot of times you got to have that credibility factor, be it through testimonials or whatever, for you to grow your business. I wanted to ask you, man, expansion or the future. What's your long-term goal for MONETIZE basketball, Coach Mo, and your whole business? What's your long-term goal, man?
The long-term goal, the end game for me would be having a basketball facility with, say, even if it's 1 or 2 courts in there, to where, and not just that, but like a basketball facility will say like a computer lab with gaming lab where a kid could come in, work on basketball, work on their homework, have fun playing, video games or whatever, and where parents can feel like this is a safe haven for my child to be at, where a culture of growth is taking place, academically and basketball wise. So that's the end game for me. And so, and I'm saying within the next 18 months or so, like commercial real estate, I don't have to tell you how expensive that is, but that's my long-term goal is just to have my own basketball facility. I'm running leagues out of there. I'm doing trainings, because right now, like the hard part about expansion is that, and I've kept it small, I could grow it more, but I feel like when people sign up to train by me or to play for me, they sign up to train or get coached by Coach Mo.
Right.
I don't want to just start expanding, having, like, say, a parent coach and be like, okay, you're going to be over here when you sign up to play for me. You know what I mean? And so I want to expand, but it's hard to expand because I got to have the resources in place so that my brand not getting diluted.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean? Like if I coach you, you're getting MONETIZE coaching. If I get a parent volunteer, that ain't MONETIZE coaching. You know what I mean? And so, you know what I mean? So it's tough. It's tough to turn down money for sure.
Yeah.
Because I've had enough interest to probably have 8 to 9 teams, but I only scale it to where my imprint is on it. You know what I mean? And I want the child and the parent to feel like they're getting coached by Coach Mo.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so that don't mean I'm there for every practice and every game, but I'm the main coach, and they know that they're getting coached by me. So that's what I want. That's the relationship I want to build with them.
So it's funny because we had talked about this, I don't know, maybe a year ago, about coaching the coaches. Yeah, you still, So
you know what? My best friend has been telling me this for the longest, and now I'm going to finally implement it, man. So this is the market that's untapped here. The suburbs of Phoenix provide so many different recreational leagues, and these recreational leagues are overwhelmingly coached by parent coaches, a dad with his son and his friends. there's a market, and I'm going to finally take advantage of it, of, say, me having a coaching clinic. And I teach these parents, like, the basics of coaching, how to run a practice. You know what I'm saying? And be like a consultant, you know, and just teach them coaching one-on-one. And because there's so many parents that do it, there's definitely a market for it, without a doubt. I haven't taken advantage of it yet, but I'm like this close to really. My basketball season, when I say Mesa High's basketball season ends in March. My agenda number one is to get my my coach to coach like kind of platform going, because it's definitely, there's revenue in it and there's an interest for sure. For sure it is.
Yeah, that can be. I was just listening to a podcast. Actually, it was a YouTube interview. It was done about 2 years ago, and this guy was actually teaching golf coaches or golf. He was a pro golfer, you know, at a club. You know, I forgot what they call him, but he teached to everybody at the club. But he created this DVD system, and he was talking about the 10 biggest mistakes golfers make and how to correct them. And this dude literally sold, I think, over $8 million in this DVD because he focused on the swing, you know, putting, short game, long game. But he created it, and instead of that 1-to-1, he was able to do 1-to-many. So maybe you're coaching the coaches can be an online program where you can teach them. Yeah,
exactly. Through my YouTube channel, absolutely. So that's what I'm thinking about, because my best friend's been hammering about this the whole time, and it was like, I put some feelers out there, you know. So like, because what I typically do is part of my getting new clients is I'll play a team in a recreational league, you know, and like even say like kindergarten through second grade, and we'll play other teams, and they'll be brand new to basketball, and my kids been playing, you know, probably like 20, 30 games and probably 50 practices. So we're just running weeds through these teams, all the same age, the same age. But it's just their experience of doing this. And so parents look at that. And I always tell the parents and the coaches, I just said, look, man, they've been doing this. Like, this is your first time coaching.
Right.
They've had, you know, 10 hours of practice. My team has had like 100 hours of practice.
Right.
It's a difference, you know. And so when I talk to coaches, I was gauging their interest. I would say, hey, man, you know, I'm thinking about having a coaching clinic, man. Would you want to come up and eat like anytime, Like, if you did something like that, I would greatly help. And I've even volunteered and like been to different practices and just showed them some different things, because I just kind of feel like, you know, it builds a good relationship throughout the network. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so just gauging that and volunteering and helping with different coaches, like I know that makes the wheels turn. Like, okay, this could actually be another aspect of my brand. It's you know, training coaches how to be better coaches.
Well, I'm gonna tell you, man. That could be your foray or parlay into getting that facility, because even the format of the coaching session of a practice, right? What do you do for the first 15 minutes? Right. Just laying out the format of that, you know, plays like, you know, man, when I played, you know, when I was a high school player, we probably had at that time about 22 to 24 plays we ran, but we only really ran probably about 6 or 8 of them at any period of time. That's just how my coach was. He was like, look, we doing this, that, the other. But just being able to the scope and the people that would want that type of a program, bro, international. It ain't just Arizona, United States. True. Any parent. So here's a perfect example, man. So my girls used to play field hockey, right? My oldest started, they're 3 years apart. My oldest started in 6th grade. I ain't even know what field hockey. I knew what it was, never watched the game at all. So my oldest daughter comes home one day in middle school, Dad, I'm going to play field hockey. I need a stick, this, that. I was like, field hockey? Black people play that? Right.
For real. For real.
So I said, all right. And I'm always like, all right, what do we need? So So I start understanding the game. And as my younger daughter started playing, I'm all, it's like AAU basketball, man. We've been traveling all over the country to the different types of stuff. Then they had the high school games and all of that, middle school games. And it's funny because one time I tell people I'm an undefeated coach, right? So I'm only 2-0, right? But I'm undefeated. So one time in my girls' summer league team, the coach couldn't be there, and she was like, Erica, can your dad coach? Because I was always at all the scrimmages and everything. And I kind of understood it. But, you know, I was like, yo, this is pretty cool. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I know enough to be a little bit dangerous. And then I got the opportunity. They were like, well, do you want to start, you know, doing some practices off the books with the girl? I'm like, I ain't got time for that. But if I had the structure to understand that, man, that's something that I think parents that are really engaged and want to be, you know what I mean, a part of their kids' growth. That's a big market, bro.
No, it really is, man. Out here, especially because, again, the biggest difference when I was in Detroit, when you go to rec centers, the biggest difference is this. When I was in Detroit, recreational leagues were ran by the City of Detroit Recreation Department.
Right.
There weren't any private business recreation leagues.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? It was like the YMCA had a league, the City of Detroit Recreation Department had a league, the Boys and Girls Club had recreational leagues, and all different sports.
Right.
Out here, recreational leagues, there's like 7 or 8 private company recreational leagues where their business is to make money off recreational leagues.
I believe
which is a totally different agenda from what the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, and the City Detroit Recreation Department does. Now, each city has their own small scale of that. You know, there's a City of Chandler Recreation Department, but they don't look at it as a business the way a private company does.
Exactly.
And so with these private companies running the recreational leagues, all the coaches are parents.
Right. And they need they need
to be trained as a coach.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So I think, man, that's a big market, man. If you could get that together, bro, I think that.
Yeah, I got to. No, my best friend was telling me this. Yeah, he was telling me this the whole time, and so you know,
coaching the coaches. Yep.
Yeah, coach the coaches, man. Just everything online. It's a platform for it.
And it's funny. Now that I'm thinking about it, my first cousin, he was in Charlotte at the time. I remember when his daughter was playing basketball, the same thing. They asked, you know, can you coach the team? We don't have enough coaches. So he actually ended up coaching and didn't know what the hell he was doing. Right. But he was committed to going out there, you know, helping the kids. So I think that's a big thing. Another thing I want to touch on real quick, man. I know before we close it out, we got a couple more questions for you. You had talked about a facility, and we talked about this a while ago. So now with all of these retail places gone, you know, so it might be a thing, man, where I don't know how much the sports courts cost, you know, the rubber course that they lay down, and then you get the goals and all that. I don't know how much they cost. They probably cost a pretty penny, but you may be able to go into one of these abandoned, not a super big spot, but it's funny.
I understand.
Go in there.
There's so many Walgreens and CVS's and man, everywhere.
And see, and you talked about sponsorship. Maybe you could find, you know, a couple of sponsors. Hey, I want to lease out this building for a year to test it out or whatever. You know, I'm going to need a sports court. You'll have your name on it, blah, blah, blah. And this would give you a facility to be able to do your stuff. And then you start out with something small.
Yeah.
You know, and then you build that up. And then the next move is, okay, now I got the computer labs. I may have to move to another location. I just passed you mentioned the Walgreens. This Walgreens, perfect size. You know, it's empty. Nothing. It's been sitting there for like 2-3 years, bro.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So
yes, that's the route I'm going to take, man. So my goal really, man, is by September, October this year, having the start of my facility going.
Man, I got about 2 more questions for you, bro. First one is, what's the number one piece of advice you would give to prospective entrepreneurs about jumping out and doing their thing and moving to a full-time entrepreneur?
Ooh, that's a good question. I think about this a lot because I get asked this a lot. The number one thing I would say is you have to be well planned. Number one is be well planned. Like, look at it, and I looked at mine in 3 months, 6 months, 1 year. That's the initial plan I had. Like, where do I want to be in 3 months, 6 months, and a year? I did that, and so that was number one. And a close number two is you have to be flexible and ready to adapt. Like, what my plan originally was and what it kind of turned out to be kind of morphed, you know. And so when a shift happens, like sometimes, like for example, when COVID-19 hit, all right, COVID hit, I had a bunch of teams. I had like 4 teams when COVID hit, and Arizona shut down everything. Like no basketball facilities. You couldn't use any basketball. You couldn't use no gyms. The leagues all shut down. We were like 2 games into the league, everything shut down. So I told my wife, I said, man, you know what? I said, I'm thinking maybe this was early March 2020. I said, let me ride out March. I had some money saved up. I said, if it don't get any better, I'll get my resume together in April and I'll go back to the job market.
Right.
So rode out March, April hits, and a couple of parents was like reaching out to me saying like they're getting tired of their kid.
Right.
And they're like, Coach Mo, can you train him? I said, I would love to train him, but I don't have anywhere to train him because everything is shut down. She said, there's a park right down the street from my house. Could you come train him over here? I said, no problem. So I trained him. I do my thing. I recorded training. I, put it on my social media. Everybody's texting me, calling me. There's a park by my house. Could you train him? It got to the point to where, and so the great thing about Arizona is we're perfect weather in April and May to be outside doing basketball. Gotcha. You know what I mean? Perfect weather. So I'm doing training like 6 days a week.
Wow.
From soon as the sun come up, 6 a.m. to like 11 a.m. And then I had a nice outdoor court that had lights. We go back there at night. So yeah, so like my best fiscal year was COVID-19 year, 2020.
That's crazy. Wow.
Yeah, and so my point to mention all that though is you have to be flexible. Like I was used to gyms and always practicing in gyms and gym rental. And then when COVID-19 hit, I was like, okay, I got to find a different way to get this done. So when you're an entrepreneur, like you have a plan and you want to execute the plan, but there's always going to be something that you didn't plan for that's going to be, like a bump in the road. And you got to be able to adapt. Like you have to be able to shift and adapt. And that's close number 2. Planning is number 1. And number 2 is you absolutely have to be able to shift when the market is forcing you to shift.
Right. Nah, that's great advice, man. Before we let you share all your contact information, man, is there anything that I forgot to ask you that you feel is important that you want to share?
We touched on everything, man. And the main thing that I really love entrepreneurship. And I think that most people don't take it as serious as it really is. You know what I mean? And so it's a sexy word and everybody wants to say they're entrepreneur, but there's like when people hear entrepreneur or they think you're successful, the success is this much part of being an entrepreneur. It's like an iceberg. There's all kind of stuff under here that's got to work for this little bit of success to be shown. You know what I mean? And so, so when you really grasp of being an entrepreneur, most of it is hard work that's not seen by nobody but maybe you and your loved one. Like you're doing a lot of work that's not being seen, that's not being appreciated to make that little bit of success bubble up. And so I just think that, when I talk to most of the younger guys about entrepreneurship, it's like, it doesn't happen overnight, man. Like it doesn't happen overnight. And you have to be able to look at it in longer in longer, longer periods of time for it to be successful.
Right.
And that goes back to the planning again. So I just feel like, I had three people that were successful entrepreneurs that really can help guide me, and
Hmm.
that's invaluable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then build a relationship with you, so
Hmm.
it's invaluable to have people that are successful that have experience in what you're trying to do that can help you navigate.
Yeah.
That don't
Yeah.
mean that you're still not gonna have bumps and bruises, but you can navigate better.
Yeah. Yeah. That's powerful, bro. Um, how can people connect with you, man? And anything you want to share with the BEB family in terms of if you got any programs, any whatever going on, but let people know how they can connect with Coach Mo.
Yeah, so for sure, man. I got all plethora of social media, Facebook, MONETIZE basketball, Instagram, MONETIZE basketball, my YouTube channel, MONETIZE basketball, Snapchat, TikTok. I'm on every social media platform with MONETIZE basketball, and my website is MONETIZEbasketball.org. Everything is on there of all my upcoming plans, my teams, where we're playing at, the results, everything.
Spell out your website info and
Oh,
all
I'm
your
sorry.
info. Yeah, because
Yep,
that
yep,
way
yep.
people
So
won't get it wrong.
I apologize about that,
Yeah.
man. You get me to talking, man, and
Yeah.
then I just keep going.
That's all right.
But it's MOEDEES, MONETIZE basketball
Got you.
dot org. That's my
Cool.
website, and that's how MONETIZE basketball is spelled on all my platforms.
What I want the BEB family to really link in with is Mo took his passion and he's created a business based around his passion. You see he's passionate about the kids, he's passionate about basketball, and it's okay sometimes to lose your passion like Mo did. But eventually, I'm telling y'all, it's going to come back because that's something that's innate in you. And all it took was that one spark. And
Yep.
now look at he's in way deep right now. But that's a
Yes.
beautiful thing because he's where he's supposed to be. So when you have that passion and that drive, and it's not all about money, and I wanted to hit on that too real quick, Mo. You
Yes.
talked about, when you build relationships, it's not at practice or at the games. The true relationships are built outside of those times. And that's when people care about you. And when people care about you, then you're going to do everything you can to help, move that relationship forward. And when people know that you love and care about them, man, that's where you make that impact. And your
Yes.
impact, like you said, you're not a coach, right? You're a
No.
community activist, and
Absolutely.
basketball
Is
is
my
is
tool.
is your tool to do that.
The thing that I learned from you when I first started listening to the podcast, and
Mhm.
it fueled me, is that monetize your passion.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
monetize your passion, man, like
yeah,
I don't know if it's hallmark or where that saying comes. Like, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your
yeah.
life.
Your
That
life,
ain't true. That ain't really true.
right?
But what is true is this. What
Right.
is true is this. If you do what you love, because you love it, you'll do it a lot and you'll get great at it.
Exactly. Yep.
Because when you invest in the time, you're going to get better and better and better. And the more
Right.
time you invest in something, the better you're going to get at it. And the love and the passion is going to fuel the work.
Exactly.
Because it can't happen without the work. You know what I mean? You can plan all you want, but you got to execute the plan.
Yeah.
And so I just think when you do something you love, man, you'll put the work in. And
Yeah.
that's the difference. Most people won't put the work in.
Yeah, I hear you hear a lot of athletes talk about it, entertainers, people that are creators, creative persons. Yeah, they enjoy what they do. And I think, like I always talk about pinpoint, monetize your genius. That is the highest form of entrepreneurship, when you can make a living, or not just a living, make a life out of
Yes.
doing something that you're passionate about. Last question, man. If you had the opportunity to talk to somebody, have a conversation with somebody living or dead, who would it be and why?
But I'm a huge basketball fan. I'm from Detroit, and
Mhm.
my idol and the person that made me love basketball is Isaiah Thomas. And I've
Got
met
it.
him a couple times, but
Mhm.
I would love like an hour of his time to sit down and just talk life and talk basketball. Like
That's what's up.
he's unbelievable. It's just like, for me, outside of my father, my grandfather, like there's no other person that's impacted my life like he has. So
That's
probably
what's up.
Isaiah, probably Isaiah
Man,
Thomas.
That was an amazing interview with Mr. Maurice Taylor, founder of MONETIZE Basketball, and I have several takeaways that I want to talk to you guys about. But real quick, let me just share my social media contact information and my resource links. So I'm going to keep it super simple. Everything I'm about to talk about is on the website. Go to blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com. If you're lazy, just type in BEBconnect.com. It's going to take you to the same place. First and foremost, as I mentioned at the top of the show, guys, my latest book is out, A New Black Wall Street. You can find it on the website. Also on the front page of the website, if you're interested in building a successful, sustainable e-commerce business, my flagship program, Brand Builder Academy Elite, is also on the front page of the website. Now, my other online course, which is pound for pound, my best program, is Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. You just listened to an interview with Maurice Taylor, who turned his passion for basketball into a profitable business. Your genius is the intersection of your passion and your talent. The problem is most people don't know how to monetize it like Mo does. It's on the front page of the website. Check it out, Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. Now, if you want to get in contact with me and you have anything long, hit me on my email, jjones@blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, JAYJONES @blackentrepreneurBlueprint.com, Facebook, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, Twitter, JJones001, JAYJONES001. Instagram, I have 2 IG accounts. The first one is J Jones for real, JAYJONES. The number 4, REAL. Second one is Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. LinkedIn, connect with me there. Just search J Jones, Black Entrepreneur Blueprint. Also YouTube, guys, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. I have additional content on YouTube that is not on the show, and you can actually watch today's interview on our YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, hit Black Entrepreneur Blueprint, and hit that subscribe button. Also, guys, make sure you subscribe to any of the podcast platforms that you're listening to. We're on all of your major podcast platforms and YouTube. Now, let me just give you guys a couple of quick takeaways from today's interview. The first thing that I want you to really recognize and understand is that it is possible. Yes, it's possible to be able to transform your passion into profit. You've just heard somebody that's actually doing it right now. And what I liked about what Mo said was it was a slow process. He didn't just go in and quit his job, but what he did was he built up his business first. And then when it got to the point that he couldn't take his business any further without directing 100% of his attention to it, then he made that transition. And I tell people the best time to start a business is while you have a job. You can fund your business that way, and now you're not pressed. So it's all about time management and being able to make sure that you afford enough time to build your business and allow it to grow. Another takeaway I want you guys to focus on for your business is building relationships. And Mo talked about the importance of building a relationship with his players. And that relationship crossed over to those players' parents because they understood that Mo wasn't just there to coach them, but he was there to help give them life information, help to develop these young men and young women to be productive grown adults. And so the relationships that you forge. And so when he talked about spending time with these players, not when they had to be there, but when it was off time. So not just on practice or game days, but spending time and building that relationship outside of game time and practice. And the last takeaway I think is the most profound takeaway from today's interview. And Mo said he's not a basketball coach. He's a community activist that uses basketball to teach life. And so what that shows is when you're doing something that you're passionate about, it's deeper than what you're doing. How are you affecting the lives of other people? And when you can combine your passion and be able to not just make money, but to positively impact other people, you can't beat that, man. So if you are in the Phoenix, Arizona area, Chandler, Arizona, I believe Mo lives, if you want your kids to have some basketball tutelage from one of the best out there, make sure you reach out to MONETIZE Basketball, and he'll make sure that he takes care of you guys. So for all you current entrepreneurs and prospective entrepreneurs, just take note on Mo's story today. And once again, it is possible to live your dreams, be able to do what you love, do what you're good at, and get paid for it. And that's really the essence of Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. And if you want to learn more, make sure you go to the website, blackentrepreneurblueprint.com, and just click on the link to Pinpoint and Monetize Your Genius. When you're able to live in your genius, guys, there's absolutely nothing like it. And I can't even explain to you how it feels. But Mo is actually living in his genius. And I pray that everybody that's listening to this at some point in time gets to that point. Now, before we close it on out, guys, I say this each and every week because it's true and I mean it. I couldn't do this without the BEB family. I appreciate you guys so much. Please remember to continue to spread the word about the podcast, the blog, the new website, the whole ecosystem that tries to help us elevate our entrepreneur IQ. Remember, it's not about me. It's not about you. It's about us. It's about building an economic power base in the worldwide Black community by building and supporting Black-owned businesses. Love you guys. See you same time next week. Peace.